king, it had a very strong local communist party, and so on. Then, when, you know the story, communists tried to take over, Soviet Union intervened, United States intervened, and so on. It's through this globalization that Afghanistan became fundamentalist. This is absolutely crucial to learn. Fundamentalism is not the remainder of some dark past. It was generated. And the same goes for, my God, United States themselves. They have their own fundamentalism. Let's take one of the states, it's a crucial example, Kansas. You maybe know Wizard of Oz, Over the Rainbow, all that bullshit, no? But Kansas as a state is today the most fundamentalist Christian Bible Belt state. But till 20, 30 years ago, it was the most progressive state of the United States of the America. All big leftist populist movements, anti-racism and so on, started there. So you see how literally it is true when that the problem with this struggle between liberalism, permissivity, and so on, and fundamentalism is that a third term is missing, radical left. And I think that if we do not enter, then it's not that I don't have sympathy for liberal values. I have great sympathy for freedom of choice, all that they praise so much. But I claim that in the long term, our message to them should be, only ridiculous as it may sound, only we can save you. Only radical left can guarantee in the long term that we will still have even freedom of choice, women's rights, and so on. Without us, we are witnessing a new, more authoritarian capitalism. And to conclude, the difficulty of the situation is that we no longer can have, I think, this old Marxist trust into what ironically we call the train of history. You know, like history is on our side. We meet, we work for the historical tendency. I think I'm more of a pessimist here. History brings an open position. If anything, if led to itself, the system will rather move towards some kind of new catastrophic authoritarianism or whatever. I claim that we cannot count on any divine agency, even in the Stalinist sense of, you know, this position of a Stalinist communist, we are just instruments of historical necessity. There is no necessity guaranteeing anything. You know, like how old communists using this metaphor of we are riding the train of history like to say, yes, there is always, even if the situation looks dark, a light at the end of the tunnel. I say, yes, but this light can also be another train coming forward to you, no? And again, here I would like, although in the last days I heard and said many critical things about Gandhi, I would nonetheless like to finish with one of the well-known Gandhi's motto. You must know it all. Be yourself the change you want to see in the world. Or, to make another version of it from Hopi Indians in America, we are the ones we have been waiting for. You know, don't have this comfortable attitude of waiting others to do it. Especially, I'm criticizing here not you, but West European intellectuals, leftists, who like very much to be radical but keep their careers safe. So they love an authentic revolution which happens somewhere far away, you know. Soviet Union, Cuba, name it. Today, Venezuela, because you can be radical, your heart is warm, and you can feel good with them, while here in your country, you play the same dirty academic games, who will get the post, but deep in your heart, you are radical. These games have to stop. Already Rousseau, the philosopher, got it because he said that, Rousseau, that all French philosophers like very much to sympathize with Mongols because this allows them to ignore the poor at their doorstep, you know. So be careful of Western liberals who sympathize with you. They are the worst. They use you. So again, my message is, you got it. At the same time, good and bad, no? Don't, you know, when my friends tell me, but why do you want change? The system will go on indefinitely, can't you see? My point is, I don't worry that there will be no crisis. There will be new crisis stronger than, and so on. We live in a time which is a very dangerous time. Why? Because we don't even see at the levels that I designated intellectual property, biogenetics, ecology, new social tensions, how many things are happening. This is the most dangerous time where it appears that just capitalism is slowly progressing, nothing is happening. Be careful that we will not be like that cat above the precipice, where we will still think we live in a nice capitalist democracy, then we will be told, we are already here, and we will all of a sudden fall down. So again, it's up to us. There is no excuse, and how to put it, the last thing you have to worry is, are what we want a radical change, utopia, and so on and so on. No, there is only one utopia today. It's the utopia that things can go on indefinitely the way they are. So I don't have any precise formulas here. I don't have exact advices how to do it and so on. I'm just saying only a more radical act can solve us. Without that, we are approaching. Did you see, just to really finish, with a comical example from my favorite domain, cinema. Did you see, it's not so well known, it's maybe only some of you know it, Terry Gilliam, Brazil. It's a kind of a negative futuristic utopia, British film, about a country which is authoritarian, but not in this old fascist sense, a leader proclaims. It's a kind of a perverse, permissive, totalitarian society. You know, everybody can enjoy promiscuity, sexuality, consumerism, but at the same time, authoritarianism is here. I think that ex-Soviet Union, Russia, Italy today, many countries are approaching all this. Here, I think, again, we have to be the change we are looking for. And because I'm here very apocalyptic, nobody will do it if not we ourselves. If we don't do it, our liberals who today suspect us of totalitarianism will see their own freedoms taken from them. So I think because of all this, the left, at least in the West, in the last 10, 20 years, was, how should I call it, the left of excuses. They said, oh, we were guilty of those totalitarian horrors, excuse me, we will not do it again. And they all the time try to prove that they are not this. So a typical, still in the West at least, leftist wants terribly to prove that he's not the old-fashioned working-class guy, screw the trade unions, we are for progressive capitalists, and so on. I think it's time for the left to stop this, how should I call it, apologizing attitude. We don't have to be ashamed. It's our time again. Thank you very much. I sit down.
So there we are, and now we'll open this up to the floor. We'll start with Usha Zacharias, who will kind of kick off this debate, this open house debate. May I request all of you to wait for the microphone before you speak, partly because all of us can't hear you if you speak without the microphone, but also because we are recording the proceedings, and if you don't speak into the microphone, the question won't be recorded, and we'd very much like that for archival purposes. Usha.
Yeah. Thanks a lot, Professor Žižek. I actually criticized you in your absence. When you were not here in the room earlier, my paper was on your book, and I did criticize your apocalyptic, your latest one, first as tragedy and then as farce. And I did criticize your apocalyptic vision about, the present state of capitalism. And perhaps we can start off a debate about capitalism itself, the nature of capitalism in Asia right now and India right now, whether you see global capitalism and the features that you just described, the loss of the internal commons, the loss of the external, and the symbolic substance. If you think those things are also relevant to Asia today or to India today, and I know you've just been here for 2 days, so it's a really unfair question You can abandon that and open it to the floor if you like.
Sorry, what then is exactly your question? How is this, what I developed,
Yes.
relevant for Asia?
Exactly.
I think it's, okay, to be very brief, because as you may have noticed, I speak too much, so I will be very brief. I think it's extremely relevant because one of the nonetheless, okay, I wouldn't say good things, but things which fascinates me about global capitalism in its new, however we call it, postmodern age, is that it's much more dynamic, less linear. With the old capitalism, you needed decades to accommodate yourself. You know, an undeveloped country needed decades to catch up with it. Today, it's not only in